right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. It's magazine night tonight. Back in the bathroom. Best lighting, so we're going to do it in here. Tonight, we're going to do BMX Action Magazine, August 1984. This magazine is in horrible shape, so I'm going to do the best that I can. I went through my cabinet. I knew I had some magazines left because I went through all of my cousin's magazines. So I'm like, his magazines are done. So all I have left is my own personal magazines, and I go, I gotta have some. I found this one. Now again, it's not in the best condition. It looks like there's a hole and some rips in it, but I went through it. It's definitely good enough for us to actually review, so we're gonna go through it. So who's on the cover of this magazine? We got Rich Avila. Looks like he's on a GT. He's doing a freestyle move. He looks like he's doing kind of a frame stance. And we got a factory Murray rider on the cover under the name of Keith Gaynor, which is a really good race shot. They're going to test the Redline 500 TA and the Pete Lonkarovich CW Pro model. So this magazine looks like it's going to be really, really good. We'll go through it as best we can. Like I said, I can clearly see there's some pages missing. But like I said, we'll just do the best we can. Fun facts for 1984. Let's take a look. What was going on in 1984? So I did find out that the Summer Olympics happened in 1984, which is kind of a cool thing because the Summer Olympics is coming back in 2028, 44 years later. Now, the sad part is I'm going to be alive to see both of them. I shouldn't say sad part. I guess it's a good thing. But 44 years later, we're going to have the Olympics back in Los Angeles. And my goal, if very possible, is to try to see some of the BMX racing live in person in Los Angeles. Hopefully that can happen. We'll see how it goes because that sounds like it's going to be an expensive adventure, but I would like to try it. Also, the top shows. What were we watching in 1984? We were watching Who's the Boss, Cosby Show, of course, Miami Vice, Charles in Charge, and Punky Brewster. Those were some of the top-rated shows at the time. In 1984, we had some famous birthdays, people that were actually born in 1984. In this case, it was Scarlett Johansson. She was born in 1984. We also had Prince Harry. He was born in 1984. Avril Lavigne was born in 1984. LeBron James, born in 1984. Katy Perry and Khloe Kardashian. So, man, if you don't feel old, now you probably do. That's pretty much all I got for the fun facts. So we're going to get into this magazine. Let's see what's in there, and I'll see you guys in a second. All right, let's get into it. So we already figured out it's August 1984, and what's going on in this magazine. We've got Deer Whiz, of course, trackside. We talked about the cover already. As far as the racing is concerned, we're going to look at the GT NBL War of the Stars in Memphis. They're going to test the the Pete Lonkarovich Pro model. So this was prior to Pete actually making that jump to Haro. So I think he made that jump to Haro. I'm going to guess, guys, I'm going to say it was 86 or 85. Man, I'm going to have to look that up. They got an interview with Wilkerson, Avila, the Two Hip Trick team, testing the Redline 500A, and of course, outtakes. So let's break this magazine open. The first thing I'm going to say is I apologize for the condition of the magazine, but man, look how yellow it is. This page was probably white at one time in its life, so let's be really careful with this magazine. This is one of my older magazines, man. 1984, guys. Golly. All right, let's take a look. All right, so inside of the cover, there's some water stains because of the age of the magazine. This Oakley Factory Pilot, I had this on my helmet. I had the sticker on my helmet, and I also had this sticker on the windshield of my Toyota FX16 GTS on my car. I had it right on the windshield in the front. The sticker was white, and my Toyota was white, so it kind of complemented it. It looked really cool. I don't know why I thought of that. Susie Hubbs, and then we have the Haro freestyle bikes here. Now, I remember looking at this ad when I was a kid, and this is clearly a freestyle bike, right? So you look at this and you think, oh, wow, that's definitely Bob Haro's freestyle bike. Very cool. You look at this bike, and this one looks like a race bike. I know it's not intended to be a race bike, but the only thing that separates this bike from an actual race bike is the fact that it's got the front caliber brakes on here. But other than that, it's essentially a race bike. So I remember looking at this ad back then thinking that bike is pretty cool and I would totally race that. I don't know if the geometry is different on a freestyle bike. I don't know enough about them to tell you if it is, but this essentially looks like a race bike to me. Now, the weird thing about this frame here, which I didn't notice until today when I was thumbing through this magazine, is that it's set up right here for the coaster brake right there. So you can see that they welded on this piece right here that allows you to bolt your coaster brake on. And freestylers back then were using handbrakes and coaster brakes. I guess it stabilized the ride when they were doing certain tricks. And I think eventually they got away from that. But this frame is super trick and still something that you can probably get your hands on today as far as a repop version. Ooh, wow, look at the condition, guys. We got the Shotgun Cycle Pro seat ad, which I remember this ad. I really love this effect with the eagle heads on it. You can see the racetrack here on the bottom, and it's from the bird's sense of view. So that's why it's so low down there, and that's a really cool touch. I really like it. This is a great ad. I like this one. So we're going to go on to the GT ad, and rest in peace, GT. American-made, import-priced GT Mach 1, $229 for a 1984 GT Mach 1. Great bike, especially for the price. Now, the one thing that always has irritated me about this is not that this bike particular, but in 1983, I was getting ready to start racing, or 1982, excuse me, and my bike got stolen. So I was using my cousin's bike when I first started racing. It was his old Mongoose Motomag Mongoose, but it had Skyway Tough Ones on it with a coaster brake. So that was my first time I ever raced, was on his Mongoose, which was something I probably should have bought from him, honestly. But anyway, when I decided I'm going to do this, my parents took me out to buy my first bike, and they gave me a budget of about $250. My dad said, you can go as high as $250, that's about it. And so there was nothing in that price range that was this caliber in 1982. Like, I was looking at bikes that were just simply like over the top expensive for what I had, because like there was a complete Diamondbacks, there was some complete Mongooses, everything was pushing $500. Anything that was in this price range was definitely not this caliber. I ended up with a very entry level bike. It was it was a Taiwan kind of type of made bicycle. It was called the Sakaya. I think I mentioned it before. Mild steel, very sloppy welds on it with semi-decent parts. This bike is all chrome moly and just awesome looking. So anyway, long story short, I really wish I would have been able to get this at the time. All right, let's keep moving. We got the Vector ad here. Sorry, again, it's torn. You can see where the pages are coming up. The Vector frame and fork set looks pretty cool, and I mentioned many times, not a big fan of this setup, but here they have the actual V-Series bars, which look like a normal type handlebar, where you can put a regular stem on there. You don't have to run this, but again, this was never something I really liked that much, but look at it. It's a Bob Harrow Signature Series handlebar, which I didn't even know until just now, so that's pretty cool. We got the Jumbo Donuts here from Flight. I definitely used donuts back in the 80s, never a jumbo. Simply put, my hands were probably a little bit too big. This is a little kid hand here. I love the MX Diacomp lever, though. I went through several of those, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's keep going. We got the Mini Goose for $199. And who is the rider here? Let's take a look. I can't see the name. It doesn't show the name. Oh, shoot, guys. Here we go. It is the most serious high-performance bicycle you can get for under $200. Just ask Missy Fred, NBL National #1 Powder Puff and two-time winner of the prestigious IBMXF World Cup. Pretty cool. Now, here's the funny thing. It's like they still call them Powder Puffs, so we definitely don't call them that anymore. All right, let's read some Dear Whiz. I love doing these. So let's go to the first one here. Dear Whiz. This is it's titled "Been Gone." Where have you been? Do you realize how many nights I've spent losing sleep in bed, wondering when you'd be back to answer the questions from us poor souls who aren't as insightful as the great Whiz? Please do us all a favor and don't ever leave us again. That was from Sean Mahoney out of Sacramento, California. And he says, thanks, Sean. I'm not leaving a guarantee. There's nowhere but here I want to be, even if sometimes things get so hectic that I don't have time to write. Wiz. And that's from Oz. Okay, so the next one is cigarettes. It says, Dear Wiz, would smoking cigarettes affect my racing? That's from Anonymous out of Oxon Hill, Maryland. And here's what he says. Smoking affects everything you do. It's like your mind says, what's the point of putting on all this effort into this thing that's good for our body when you keep on doing the other thing that is bad for it? When you have smoking habit, you feel crummy most of the time. You don't want to race. You don't want to do much of anything except smoke. If it's the pits, I smoked for 10 years. It's the single most stupid thing I've ever did. Forget this Marlboro Country baloney. Marlboro Country is cancer ward at the county hospital. Don't smoke. Oz. Now, the funny thing about this, guys, I don't want to preach or anything like that, but when I see somebody smoking cigarettes now in 2025, I'm actually kind of surprised because I mean I don't know, it's not as common as it was, let's say in the 70s and 80s and even 90s. I started working in an office in the early 90s, and smoking was like a normal thing. As a matter of fact, there was smoking rooms, smoking sections. People smoked in the office. So it's kind of crazy. When I was in high school, there was a smoking section in the 1980s, which is crazy to think about, that you send your kid to high school and he can actually go stand outside and smoke, and it was totally normal. That's kind of a crazy thing. Anyway, let's keep on going. I'm getting sidetracked like always. We got an ad here for SR Turbox for the one-piece cranks. Scratch pads. I guess this going on the top tube of your bicycle. I don't know if it had some grip on it for freestylers. Not too familiar with this. And then we've got the Kuwahara ad here. We got Clint Miller, Gary Ellison here with the Laser Light, the Survivor, and the Nova. These look like awesome bikes, by the way. All right, let's keep on keeping on. We got more Dear Wiz. The Terry Cable ad here, along with the power cranks. These cranks look pretty sick. I don't remember this either. Total weight ranges from 11.75 ounces for the 155 millimeter and 13.25 ounces for the 185 millimeter. Ooh, 185s. That's a long crank. I don't think I can run a 185. Right now I have 175s on my race bike, and I use 180s on my Skyway, which is basically my cruise around bike. But I can technically race that bike if I wanted to. I think the 180s, they feel a little bit better for me. I can definitely spin the 175 a little bit better, but I grew up on 180s, so it doesn't seem like a big deal to me. Okay, let's keep going. This was a Skyway ad, guys. You can see where I actually cut it out. So there was a team picture for Skyway here, but it was on my wall, so that's why you only see this. But that's a great, look at this little rendering here, the Skyway rendering. This is really cool, by the way. Love it. Sorry I cut the picture out, and that affected the JT ad here. And then we've got the Fox, a perfect street bike for under $165. Get another quality bike for less than $200 now. This is an excellent bike for anybody around this time frame that wanted to get into BMX. This is a great entry level bike. Not too sure about the handlebars, the way they're turned in like that. That doesn't look like it would be very comfortable, but overall it's a pretty decent bike. We got the Zap Pads ad here with Brian Patterson. He's doing the grids here. I definitely love the look of these pads. These look very cool. Send the competition home to mama. All right, what do we got here? We got more Suntour. As I mentioned many times, these are some of my favorite pedals here. And what's going on? Mongoose test update. In the Mongoose test last month, we were bagging on the, we were bagging on the much too narrow width of the Mongoose Pro Class bars. Since that time, Mongoose has increased the width from 26 3/8 inches to 27.5 inches. That makes them much wider, so they made an adjustment to the bars based on what happened in the test. That's really cool. What's going on here? Fred Johnson, who's been shredding heavily at the Nationals this year, has left Blue Max to go to CW. Danny Steplight, who has bailed on CW, is now trying out a support deal with CW. but he broke his leg in a freak accident in Memphis and will have to sit out a couple of months of action. Oh, that's a bummer. Darwin Griffin, the wonder kid of last year's Unworld Championships, has departed Mongoose's team to move on over to Factory GT. Willie Hubner and said later days to Diamondback and signed up for Factory Torquer. And last but not least, Donnie Atherton, after looking extremely hot recently, has picked up a factory ride from Redline. Donnie was headed for factory ride at KHS, but when the offer came from Redline, he opted instead. Wow. I don't even remember Donnie racing for Redline, so that's really, really cool. We got Team Cycle ad here. Let's keep going. Great landing gear fork ad. I've seen this one before against the quad angle, all in white with the chrome array of 7Xs along with the competition 3 tires. This is beautifully done. I can see the end of the 09 plate here. It's running the front brakes, but this is a really, really cool setup. And one of the coolest frame pads I've ever seen is on the quad angle, how it was specifically designed to fit on the quad angle. Very cool. Love that. We got the array of rims here, 7Xs on the bottom. These are introducing the XA1 aero tubing, so that's a pretty sick looking wheel there. Let's keep on going. The Formula One is moving faster than ever. We've got the late great Harry Larry doing the ad here, and then I believe this is going to open up to another page. Oh no, it doesn't. That's it. That's the whole ad. That's a great shot. Love it. Okay, let's move on. We're going into the races now. This is my favorite part of the magazine. We got GT NBL War of the Stars Memphis Miranda marches across the South. So let's see what's happening. It says, kicking it up warp speed at the exit of the big 180-degree berm. Rodney Cooper's flat cooking. The Memphis track was wide open and ultra competitive. Great shot. And as I mentioned before, some of the greatest race photos of all time are definitely going to come from BMX Action. I love the way that Oz set this up with how everything's blurred, but it's clear enough on the racer where you can clearly see who it is, and it represents a lot of speed. This is a great shot and a good example of what you would expect to see in BMX Action. Whoa, look at this. We got some Pro Cruiser action. So the Pro Cruiser main was Turnell Henry, number 5, so he's sitting right there. And then we have Brent Patterson, number 1. So here's Brent right here in the middle of the fold. And then we have our, let's say it says, busily banging bars, while Toby Henderson, number 2, is taking advantage of the battle to scoot out in front. A split second after this photo was shot, Toby did a little one-footer when his front wheel ticked the lip on the second jump. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Now, again, I just want to look at a few things in here just to kind of give you guys some what was so cool about the 80s. I see a lot of 09 plates, 09, 09, 09, 09. So you can see 09 was definitely heavily used at the time. I love the colors of all these factory teams. You got SE Racing here, Team Murray, Factory Patterson, Factory KHS, and there's a Raleigh rider in the background. Very easy to identify, and it's just a great time to be a BMX racer. I love the fact that they're rocking the Vans here, with the exception of Turnell. He's got some classic Nikes on right here. I used to do both. I'll be honest with you guys. Sometimes I ran the Nikes, sometimes I ran the Vans. It didn't really matter as long as it looked good with the uniform. We got Steve Veltman here, Holland Buns, 1st and 14 expert. Factory Hutch. That's a great shot. Okay, let's keep on going. Oh, this is a great one in Ensign color. Let's see what's going on. Miranda, 75, turned in 2/3 and a second in A Pro Bucks. Let's see, A Pro Bucks mains to scarf the overall. Toby Henderson, Rob Fade, and Brian Patterson are in hot pursuit. Great shot. We got Mike Miranda sitting here. I love the black 09 number plate with the white 09 numbers, and look how he has the Amy sticker placed in the middle of the 7. It fits perfectly, and he's got the retro 09 sticker here. I always look at the details of how these guys used to put their things together, and I love Mike's style. You know, he's got the goggles on up here, just like Rob Fade does right here with the goggles on the top of the helmet. No intention to use them, but I think they needed to have the goggles on to a certain extent for co-sponsor purposes or things like that. I love the colors of the Torker uniform right here. These Max pants are really cool. And then, of course, you can't mistake in GT. GT colors have always been hot. I love the dyno number plate with the checkers that are going all around the outside of the number plate, and it says Vans BMX here, JT Racing, and of course the Amy. The funny thing is, it's cool that he picked the JT Racing, but there's no JT Racing here, with the exception of the gloves. So he's wearing JT gloves here, so that's pretty cool. And they got Brian Patterson here. As I mentioned before, the Patterson guys, the Patterson brothers, always super stylish, always look professional. Loved everything about Patterson. Very, very cool. We got some freestyle action here. Let's see what happened. Over at the Liberty Land Amusement Park, next to the fairgrounds where the race was being held, the Mid-South BMX trick team was doing a freestyle show. That's John McCormick in the Skyway jersey. And J.R. Ward, during the summer, they do shows once or twice a month in Liberty Land. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Now, I look at quarter pipes, and I think to myself, how did they do this? Because I think getting in the air, doing an aerial on a quarter pipe is insane because you overshoot it just a little bit and you're going to go off the side. That's just my mind talking to me, so I don't know. I've never ridden one, but they were pretty steep. I've seen them in person. All right, let's keep going. Oh, this is great. Look at these shots. Oh, man. Great, great pictures. We got Eddie King right here, Harry Larry, and I want to say that is going to be Nelson Chanity, and then, of course, we got Stu. So what's happening in these shots? Let's take a look. Between their motos, the pros withdraw almost into a trance-like state. Complete motos are run in their minds. Strategy is planned and visualized. Sections of the track are microscoped time and time again in their minds to find a place to shave another millisecond off their lap times. We're talking major mental intensity with Eddie King, Harry Larry, Nelson Chanity digging deeper. Stewart had psych going with 2 big wins at the 2 nationals prior to Memphis, but it was all flushed down the toilet when he fell in practice and heavily damaged some ligaments and tendons in his ankle. Ooh, ouch. Stu, I almost wish I would have broken it. At least it would have healed faster. 6 weeks off minimum. Wow. Man, he looks very upset right here. Who's in this shot? This is great. Oh, John Anderson. Okay. Old, tall, and skinny John Anderson walked away with the win in the 16 cruiser class. That's a great shot. Love it. I hate these handlebars. I've always have, but I love the shot. It's really, really cool. Okay, let's keep going. What do we got going on over here? Let's see. Mike Miranda, I swooped on the Bucks look. I'm going to say something about Mike. I got a good chance to talk with Mike Miranda during our trivia contest with Kevin, and it was a lot of fun. And Mike is just a super cool dude, and I'm going to tell you, Mike, you've got the greatest hairline ever. Most of my hair has gone south for the winter, and yours is still hanging in there, buddy. Good for you. Atherton, you won the pro award after a long dry spell. And Solon Foster's What I Didn't Double Look. Hey, yo, I want to say something about this picture. I remember eyeglasses like this in the 80s. He's rocking the mullet, and this guy's got the Motley Crue t-shirt on. Man, this screams 80s. And look at Mike's homemade muscle shirt. I love the 09 wrist wrap gloves here that Atherton is wearing. Looks like they're kind of worn out, but that's a great shot. All 3 of these pictures are great. Let's keep going. Oh, here's the track. Okay, so let's take a look. So again, this is a typical 80s track, and if you look, there's really only one jump per straight. So you got your typical starting gate here, and this looks like it's a wooden starting gate. They said it's an electronic gate, has 4 lights, snap right on the green. The gate drops totally slow. So they're saying the gate's very slow. You're going over the first straightaway. There's just a drop-off jump here. They said it's about 3 feet tall. You got a tiny set of doubles right here. And it says right here, they're no problem, just jump them. You're going to have a sweeping turn right here. It's flat, and it's banked at the end. And then you've got a speed jump. It looks like the speed jump is lower on the outside and steeper on the inside. So if you're going to make that move on the inside to pass, you're going to have to compensate by being a great speed jumper to get over that portion. This is a very peaky speed jump right here, and something that would be typical for the 80s, and something that I struggled with as a shorter rider. My speed jumping technique was okay for the shorter jumps, but the taller jumps were a little challenging for me, and a lot of times they would kick me in the air. In fact, one time I was racing in Reno, and I had this bad habit of looking down when I'm pedaling hard. And I looked up just in enough time to hit the jump, and it launched me, and I landed somewhere over here. And when I came down so hard on flat ground that the chain just popped right off. So that was a sucky trip for me to Reno. Anyway, we're going into a 180, pretty banked berm right here. This looks like a lot of fun. It looks kind of like what you would see in like a pump track today. You got a good set of doubles right here into another berm going into the last corner, right-hand turn. Looks like you can, I don't know if the berm was even useful. Looks like you can swing on the inside. And then we got your typical tabletop and finish line. Not too difficult of a track. I think the biggest obstacle for me back then probably would have been the bigger set of doubles and this peaky speed jump. So that probably would have been the only issues I had with that track. But that's really, really cool. So let's take a look. Sharpshooting, who's using what? Just for kicks, we took a peek at what kind of cranks and crank length the pro qualifiers were using, and it went like this. Mike Miranda's running redline flights at 180 millimeter. Eric Roop was running profiles at 180 millimeter. Pete Loncarabridge is running redline flights 185 millimeter, long cranks. Donnie Atherton, redline flights 180 millimeter. Brian Patterson, redline flights 180 millimeter. Toby Henderson, redline flights 180 millimeter. Interesting, he's not using Hutch cranks. Oh, no. Well, that makes sense because he would have been on SE at the time. Bart McDaniels, redline flights 175 millimeter. And finally, Rob Fade, redline flights 185 millimeter. It's pretty safe to say that redline was probably the most popular cranks at the time, meaning that almost every single person was running redline except for Eric running profiles. And profiles are excellent cranks too. So you can't. I've owned both, so I know. Okay, let's keep going. We got the Ukiah ad, Hank and Frank over here. The gear ad here with the gloves. This looks pretty cool. Lack of design a little bit, but I like them. And then what do we got? Sharpshooting favorite tunes. Oh, let's take a look at this really quick. Nelson Chanity. He likes to listen to Def Leppard, Pyromania, and Van Halen. Rich Zagars, he likes U2, The Eurythmics, Tears for Fears. Eric Roop was like Vangelis, Chariots of Fire. What the heck? Petra, it's a Christian rock group. And Keith Green. Sorry, Eric, I'd never heard of any of these, but I will Google them. We got the Duke, Run DMC, Tom Brown, Rockin' Radio, Reflex, The Politics of Dancing, Charlie Williams. I don't know. I know I have some. Suicidal Tendencies, Fear. Pete Loncarabridge likes Elvis Presley, GI Blues, Chuck Berry, The Ventures, Walk Don't Run. Billy Griggs likes The Jam, Snap, Van Halen. Richie Anderson, Rick James, Cold Blooded. Let's go, Richie. The Jazz Band, Joystick. I remember that song. Isley Brothers and The Real Deal from Midnight Star. Mike Miranda, Muddy Waters, Mississippi Waters Live. Theme from the movie Deliverance, Dueling Banjos. That's their favorite tunes from some of the top pros at the time. Let's keep going. Ooh, let's see who won a pro. So at the Memphis race, it looks like Mike Miranda took the win. Pete Loncarabridge was second. Eric Roop with third. Bart McDaniel, Rob Fade, Donnie Atherton, Toby Henderson, and finally Brian Patterson. Pro Cruiser was won by Toby Henderson, Rob Fade, Tim Judge, Don Jolie, Brian Patterson again, Eric Roop, Turnell Henry, and Jeff Rumanier. And then finally Pro Award, a.k.a. Pro Open, Donnie Atherton, Brent Patterson, and Greg Hill. B Pro was won by Dee Dee Leone, Don Jolie, and Tim Judge. Great. Those are great finishes. Let's keep going. Oh, here we go. The start stomping for under $200. Another excellent another excellent example of what $200 could buy back in 1984. Pretty cool bike. Now, if you look at this bike now and you tell yourself, what would I do with it if I owned it back then? I can tell you right now, Redline Flight cranks is a must. Sun Tour pedals, I would probably replace these. This can stay, bigger bars. At the time, I was probably rocking like CW handlebars. And probably a chrome set of Berea 7Xs as opposed to these black ones. Other than that, good to go. And I do that kind of stuff with bikes to this day. We got the Eliminator 2 Pro Tech helmet. My cousin Eric had that helmet. Meet the Killer. Meet the Killer the complete book of BMX. Cousin James had that one. Nighthawk BMX. And then, of course, the 2-page Pro Neck ad. It's actually really cool. One of Sean Texas's better ads. I really like this one. And again, $2.99. Look at this bike for $2.99. Now, that's a steal. Here we go. The CW Pete Loncarovich Pro model. Totally new and totally hot. Exclusive first test. RL sailing through a heavy-duty canyon jump at the parks. So this is basically what you consider a pro model bike at the time. And this is really cool. Lots of guys here watching the test. I love that. RL is such a great jumper, great rider overall. And whoa, I love this picture of Pete. Let's take a look. So what do we got here? You can see Pete's running. His bike is virtually all chrome. I don't care what anybody says. I thought these CW bars were kind of cool, especially with the 09 number plate wrapped over it. And I love that look, of course. He's got the CW pad set on there. Comp 3s, 2.125 in the front, 1.75s in the back. That was pretty typical for pros. Redline Flight, Sun Tour pedals. This bike's just all chrome and all business. This is a great shot of Pete. This is before Pete kind of blew up muscle-wise, but it's a really cool shot. He was only 18 years old here, which is crazy, man. Where did time go, guys? I just don't know. Oh, man. Anyway, I was going to read all this, but it looks like it's a little bit too much, and we got a lot of magazines, so we're just going to keep on going, guys. Great shot. Oh, wow, look at this picture here. This is great. No, is this Pete right here? Yeah, it is. Pete and RL in flight. So Pete's on his personal race bike. RL is rocking the test bike, and it doesn't look like to be a problem for RL. He's handling it great. This is a great shot of these two. Well done. Well done. Pete looks crazy here. He said, would you buy a used car from this man? Another shot of Pete right here. Pete's totally serious about his racing this year. And this Pete was about to blow up. He was pretty much unstoppable. And I'm going to tell you something. The first time I saw Pete Loncarovich racing was probably, I'm going to say it was Bakersfield. I want to say it was 1987. Could have been 85. Might have been 85. But anyway, I went to a race in Bakersfield. I didn't do very well at that race. I think I got motoed out, so I didn't even go to the mains. But I was watching the pros race, and it was the first time I had seen Pete in person. And to see his spin out of the gate and into the first turn, he had crazy spin. The dude was just so fast. And I remember seeing that going, damn. Because it's one thing to see these guys in the magazine and realize, oh yeah, they're great riders. But the pictures sometimes don't do it justice. And even watching it on video, it's not the same. When you're actually at the race and you're seeing the speed that these guys were able to generate, it was super, super impressive. And it's not just Pete. It was pretty much everybody in the pro class. I just was part of one of the biggest things for me, honestly, guys. Going to a national was just watching the pros race. That was a big deal for me, because you only see him here, so that's really cool. Oh, this is a great shot. Look at this. So he's going to lock it up right here, full cross up. And this is RL locking it up right here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect landing. And again, this is a stock CW bike. So it just goes to show you how cool the bike was. Look at the bar position, though. Again, it's going forward, and mainly because the bikes just weren't long enough for the bigger riders. Shorter riders like me, no big deal, but a taller guy like RL, you can see he had to change the bar position. Even my bars were forward. It's just kind of how we did it back then. All right, and here's your complete bike right here. Boy, this is a great looking bike. I love it. There's pretty much nothing on here minus the 3-piece cranks that I wouldn't change on this bike. This is just a beautiful setup. Love it. I had a CW at one point. I even had a CW Cruiser, and those are just bikes that I ended up selling eventually over time, and things that you always regret letting go, but I can't keep everything. We got racing tips from the top pros here. Harry tortures Eddie in trackside Groucho imitations, and this is a great shot here of Mike Buff here on the survival tips for freestyle, and this is really cool. We're not going to read all this, guys, but it looks really interesting, something I'm probably going to go back and look at later. Oh, wow. So the total price for the CW was $359. So it's about $100 more than you would expect to pay for an entry-level bike. Definitely worth the money in my opinion, because there's not much you need to do to it, like I said. Oh man, this whole page is ripped right here. We got a great Amy ad here. Oh man, I totally ruined this. Shimano DX ad too. That's too bad I ripped it, because it would have been cool to look at. We got the Robinson ad right here. Tawny Thomas, she was only 8 years old at the time, but you know, this magazine's 40 years old, so she's, what is it? She's like 41 now, or 48 now, so it's hard to believe that this young lady's 48 years old now, so that's crazy. She's probably someone's grandma. All right, another great ad for CW. We got the Schwinn Grand Nationals in 1984 with an $18,000 pro purse. And let's keep going. Oh, look at this. Wilkerson and Avila. This gentleman's on the cover of the magazine in one of the inset shots. And this is a great shot. You can see his GT here. It's all set up for freestyle. And then we got Ron on the Haro here. So this looks really cool. But this was more, oh no, this is a freestyle bike. You can see the on the back of the bike right here, how it kind of loops out like that. Definitely a freestyle bike. Great shot of these guys. The Two Hip Trick Team. Teamwork, Wilkerson, Avila, and the few synchronized one-hander, one-footer back hops. These guys have major fun when they ride. That's really cool. You gotta love this look, man. It looks like a flock of seagulls or something like that. We got Ron Wilkerson over here. He's got the typical curly long hair. Great shot. This is a great shot right here. Wow. I'm not a freestyle guy, but I got to admit, that's a great shot. Wow, look at this one. He's riding on the very edge of the quarter pipe right here. That's a pretty cool shot right there, too. Man, freestyle was just about to take over everything. Oh, the pages are sticking together. Whoa, look at this shot, guys. You got to love that. Ron buzzing through a pedal spin in the Whiz Pub's photo studio. The deal here is to lay the bike down, balance on the pedal, push off, and pirouette around a few times. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. This is a really cool shot right here too. All these shots are really good. I love the white Tough Wheels, by the way. Let's turn the page. SR pedals. More stuff about Wilkerson and Avila. Great shot here of Eric Root factory profile at the time. I love this shot. I love this ad. I've seen this a bunch of times. Oh, here we got here the High Performance Hutch Pro Raider, $239. There you go again, guys. So everything that we've seen outside of the CW has been in the $200 range. So that's, you know, the people say BMX is for rich kids, but you know, not really. You know, an average kid with a parent that's willing to take them to the races could have raced in the 80s. Definitely. All right, let's keep on going. Oh, a totally new BMX Action subscription sweepstakes. Your chance to win an Ultra Qual Diamondback Turbo, absolutely free, a $500 value. This is one of my holy grail bikes right here. To have a Diamondback Turbo like this in perfect condition, I would love to have one of those. Love it. I think I would rarely ride it. I would only take it out on sunny days. But I definitely love that bike. Here's the test for the Redline 500A. Boy, this magazine is in bad condition, guys. This is Rob Swick. Swick getting slick, kicking out over some doubles at his local neighborhood practice track. Wow, this is a pretty cool practice track right here. Oh, they're doing some freestyles. You got RL knocking this one out. Now, this bike is considerably smaller than the CW Pro that we've seen RL testing earlier in the magazine. You can physically see it's a much smaller bike, but RL still making it happen. This is a great shot right here. I remember this picture actually. So it says our guest celebrity for the 500 test was factory Redline heavy in Pride of Elsinore, and it's Robert Swick. Robert, I'm sorry, getting way down over the jump. That's really cool. That's a great shot of him right there. Total price of the bike, $209. Really can't beat that. It was 24 pounds, 13 ounces stock out of the box. So not too bad. I think my current race bike is 21 pounds. And so this one's sitting at 24. Of course, bikes can get much lighter now with all the carbon fiber and all the goodies that these guys use nowadays. Robert was only 12 years old at the time, but Racing Factory Redline. Great Tioga ad here. I love this one. Great race shot for these guys. And then, oh man, sorry guys, this thing is looking horrible. We're finishing up the 500A test here, but this Patterson ad here is awesome. Definitely love it. We got Brian, Brent, and Richie Anderson. This is a beautiful frame and fork set, you have to admit. I would love to have one of these too. And let's see what else we got. Here's your outtakes. We got a monkey named Zip on Factory GT. Man, how did they pull that off? That's actually pretty funny. And we've seen a similar shot like this already. And then, of course, you've got your GT ad, GHP. No, is that GHP? Yeah, it is GHP. Cycle Pro GHP replica, War Machines, the Arsenal 5 new bikes. Very, very cool. Guys, that's it. We did it. That is BMX Action, August 1984. That was a good one. We did that in 38 minutes. Not too bad. I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, please like and subscribe. I'll be back next week. We'll be reviewing more races next week. This was a fun one. I'm going to continue to try to find more magazines. I still have some supplies hidden away, so we'll find some more. I'll see you guys in the next one.